What up, ball knowers? My name's Darian, and the Broncos officially played their first preseason game, and let me go through my notes that I took while watching the game. First up, we got Courtland Sutton, who made a couple big catches yesterday and probably looked as strong as ever and as good as ever in his contested catches. Now, obviously, last year his issue was some concentration and easier drops, but I do think Courtland Sutton, now in that number 2 role, will excel. Davis Webb's play calling in the first couple of drives was pretty clinical. I really like the script he went with, the deep shots, the over-the-middle stuff, the play action. It all looked good. A couple of big catches by Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant alike. Evan Ingram looked really good, a couple nice blocks, and a nice seam shot down the middle, which I'd been begging for from Sean Payton. That's what he said he wanted the Joker to be, but we rarely saw Evan over the middle of the field last year, where it was either like a deep crosser, a drag, or a little flat route to him. So it's nice seeing him get over the middle of the field, and Jarrett Stidham hit him on that, as well as him line up more in line and be able to show that he may not be the best blocker, but he can be serviceable in certain runs. Moving on to the starting defense, Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper looked absolutely electric off the edge as usual. The secondary wasn't really tested other than a Riley Moss interception that came off of a Jonah Ellis pick, who also looked super fast out there, having like 5 pressures and only the certain amount of drives that he was able to play. Obviously, the starters looked super good. The only thing, Alex Singleton still looks slow out there, but there's not much we can do about that at this point. Moving on to the backups on defense, Jahdae Barron played a decent amount of outside corner and looked much more comfortable. It was really only an off coverage and let up a 3rd and 10 that he probably could have been a little more aggressive on and probably could have had a little bit more help from JL Skinner on, but it was a decent throw by Cooper Rush finding the seam. Other than that, Jahdae Barron tackled really well, had a couple nice tackles, one that saved a touchdown, as well as that tipped pick 6 that we all saw that he took to the crib, but that really goes to Karene Reed. Jahdae Barron did drop a pick later on in the game where he read Cooper Rush, but overall, I really liked how he played. That next play that he should have had a pick on was still a nice read. He really read the quarterback's eyes, and you can see him playing more fluid and more confident out there. Now, I want to see him obviously get more into press man. Hopefully, VJ will let him and Chris Abrams-Draine do that a little more in the upcoming preseason games. Another standout on the defensive side was obviously the linebacker Karene Reed, and made a sick diving swat that led to the Jahdae Barron pick 6. He also looked good downhill, and I really think he solidified his role as the linebacker 3 on this team. Now, the linebacker 4, Red Murdoch, who was actually able to call some of the plays, looked really good as well. Had a nice play on a drag where I thought he looked a little slow at first, but when I rewatched it, he really came down on that wide receiver, went for the punch, and one of those is going to come out soon. He also looked good coming downhill, nice TFL on a screen play, and man, that Karene Reed and Red Murdoch snaps looked really, really good, and I was really impressed with them. I'm really glad to see a couple of these linebackers really step up and look like a linebacker 3-4 that we need. JL Skinner, I thought, had a nice game, had a nice play on special teams to start. A play on the outside where he could have played the ball a little bit better, but also jumped a pass later on that could have been a pick as well. Also had a nice TFL on a rollout play to the running back. I really thought he tackled well, looked good downhill, looked much more comfortable in coverage compared next to Devin Key, and looking just more comfortable as he gets more experience out there. The other safeties, Devin Key was a little quiet, and Tyson Anderson missed a pretty bad open field tackle, and I didn't really see much from Miles Scott. I do think the Broncos should bring in Taylor Rapp, who they tried out the other day. Drew Sanders had a nice bull rush into a sack, but other than that, the backup edge rushers were a little quiet. I'd like to see more out of Q Robinson, Dante Tillman, and guys like Johnny Walker, as well as the young interior defensive linemen being pretty quiet. We didn't see a lot of big plays from Tyler Unyedem. Savion Jones had, I think, 1 pressure, and then a guy like Jordan Jackson. Didn't see those guys push too far up the middle in this game. That was pretty much all my standouts from the backups on the defensive end. Switching back over to the offensive end, I did think Jarrett Stidham looked a little bit better than Sam Ehlinger. Obviously led to more scoring drives. But we will get to see Sam Ehlinger with the pseudo starters / first team in the next upcoming preseason game, so I want to see how he looks with them. I wasn't super impressed with any of the backup wide receivers. I think the guy that popped the most for me was Cam Ross on that end around and looked pretty shifty out there, especially returning a little bit. Colby Katzis didn't do a ton. I think Joseph Manjack had a decent game, and Hakeem Butler looked pretty bad, as well as Dane Key. So no one really stood out there. I don't think any of the backup tight ends popped. Dallin Bentley did block a decent bit, got open on a touchdown, but that ended up going to Jaleel McLaughlin, but ended up didn't get that catch. Justin Jolie didn't look super good, had a decent block, but also a hold. And I just really want to see the tight ends used more in those backups, but obviously Davis Webb is keeping it pretty vanilla on the offensive end. Casey looked pretty good, but I wasn't super tuned into the offensive line. I'll have to go deep into the film to kind of find more on them. Lastly, the running backs, RJ Harvey did start, had a couple okay runs, but then ended up running into the back of the offensive line. It didn't really pop, but when Jonah Coleman came in, he looked really, really good. Found a couple of cutback lanes, bounced off a couple of defenders, and I really liked how he looked in between the tackles and his vision going forward. I do want to see RJ get a couple more carries in the next upcoming games to really show that he improved on his vision. If not, he's really going to be delegated to a third down back. Jonah Coleman did have 2 pass pro snaps, one where he got beat and one where he put a guy on the ground. So a good and a bad. We just need to see him be more consistent there. And lastly, I'm really done with Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Bidet. They really do nothing for me. They're just out there to be out there. Jaleel has a couple decent plays, then looks bad, then fumbles the ball, gets hurt on special teams. It's like great. And Tyler Bidet just really hasn't done anything since his first couple games in the NFL. I think Cody Schrader looked the best, to be honest, but I really want the Broncos to look towards the waiver wire or picking up a vet because I really don't like this running back depth. Overall, great performance by the Denver Broncos, 27-7. It could have been even more than that. I think the Broncos should have scored more points, and the only touchdown for the Atlanta Falcons coming off of that Jaleel McLaughlin fumble. Really looking forward to the next preseason game and hopefully seeing more standouts throughout camp. And other than that, I'll take it easy.